The world is very divided right now in almost every way imaginable. But if there's one thing that pretty much everyone can agree on, it's that life has become too expensive. Six-figure earners are being priced out of housing markets across North America. Used cars now cost as much as brand new ones. Grocery prices have increased by 30% in the last 5 years. $5 coffees now cost $8. A crappy fast food meal will set you back 25 bucks. And every other product or service on earth now seems to come with some sort of mandatory paid subscription or service fee or some other bullshit designed to price gouge you at every opportunity. The mainstream media calls this inflation in hopes of normalizing it and getting people to kind of just shrug and accept it. Inflation, am I right? It is what it is. But I'm not buying it. Inflation is one thing, but this is something else entirely. This is extortion. It's a calculated effort by nearly every company on earth to squeeze every possible dollar out of every possible person at every possible moment, and to give us all as little as possible in return. I heard a saying recently that really struck with me. It was, corporations act like they're mad that they have to go through you to get your money. And I think that perfectly encapsulates the situation. Though it wasn't always like this, corporations today have no desire to provide you with value. They hold no pride in their reputation or the quality of whatever they sell. They don't care about trying to win your business because they don't have to. Like, obviously companies want to make as much money as possible. That's a given. They want to charge as much as they can for their products and services. The only thing that's ever really held them back is the threat of competition. The idea that if another company offers something similar at a better price, people would just buy that instead. But in an increasing number of industries, that's no longer a concern because we now live in an oligopoly. An oligopoly being like a monopoly, but with a few controlling entities instead of just one, which is so much better, right? When you live in an oligopoly, competition is virtually non-existent, and companies are then free to charge as much as they want for whatever they sell without fear of you taking your business elsewhere because there isn't really anywhere else to take it. And if there is, well, there won't be for long because soon enough they'll either collude with one another or just acquire each other. Like here in Canada, we like to joke that our country is basically just 3 oligopolies in a trench coat, and it would be a funny joke if it wasn't true. I know for a fact that it's pretty much the exact same situation in the US. We have 5 big banks in Canada who all offer nearly the exact same accounts, cards, rates, and services with nearly the exact same fees. So if, for example, you get sick of paying between $12 and $30 a month for the privilege of accessing your own money, you can just go to a different bank and pay between $12 and $30 a month for accessing your own money. If you were to drive around, it would seem like we have a ton of different grocery stores to shop at, but no. Almost all of them are owned by one of 3 massive chains. So if you were to go to Loblaws and then think, God damn, this place is expensive, I'm gonna go shop at No Frills instead. Well, the joke's on you because both stores are owned by the same billionaire-led corporation, and they can charge you whatever they want because what are you gonna do? Starve? And just like the banks, when it comes to telecommunications companies, we have the joy of picking between Rogers or Bell or Telus, or Rogers or Bell or Telus, all of whom once again offer the same shitty plans at the same shitty rates. I mean, I guess you could go with Fido or Virgin or Koodo, except that they're also owned by Rogers and Bell and Telus respectively. I know Americans have the same treat of picking between Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. But really, these 3 industries, they're only a small example of what's really going on. Like, when it comes to everyday household essentials, what are your options? Amazon or Walmart or Target, right? How about home improvement? You got Home Depot or you got Lowe's. Drugstores, America has Walgreens and CVS. Canada has Shoppers Drug Mart and Rexall, same crap, different flavor. And by the way, Shoppers Drug Mart is also owned by the Loblaws Corp. Need a new phone? Well, are you team Apple or team Samsung? Even as you walk through a store and shop, nearly every product you pick up is owned by one of roughly just 10 or 11 giant companies. Conglomerates like Nestle, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Colgate-Palmolive, Unilever, and Mars, who own brands that stretch across nearly every industry, from frozen pizza to toothpaste, soda to toilet bowl cleaner, pet food to makeup to chocolate to tampons to batteries, bottled water, diapers, and supplements. Mars even owns a giant chain of veterinary clinics because why not? If you've been washing your clothes with Tide and then find one day that the price has gone way up, you can always switch to Gain or Downy or Cheer, except that just like Tide, they're all owned by Procter & Gamble, so it doesn't really matter what you choose because choice is just an illusion. Also, they all test on animals, so you really shouldn't use any of that shit. When you go to buy home appliances, you can pick between Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, or JennAir, but they're all actually Whirlpool. Are there other options? Yeah, but really only a few. There's what, GE, Samsung, and LG? That's mostly it. And let's think about it for a second. If Whirlpool, having the lion's share of the market captured, decided to increase the price of all their appliances by 20% overnight, what could you do about it? And if you were GE or Samsung or LG and you saw Whirlpool do that and get away with it, wouldn't you follow suit? But make no mistake, even oligopolies are only one symptom of a much larger issue. We have a lot to unpack here still, but first I want to share a little story time. As some of you may know, I've been going through Invisalign treatment for the last year. It's been going really well, but I recently found out that I may end up needing a gum graft when all is said and done, which isn't great news. Honestly, the procedure itself doesn't really concern me, but I have an extreme sensitivity to pain medications. Like, they make me so sick that the side effects are usually worse than the pain that they were meant to treat. But time and time again, I've had doctors completely dismiss my concerns because I don't have an anaphylactic allergy, so they just insist that it's no big deal and I should just deal with it. So anyways, this past week I went and met with a periodontist, and I explained my reservations, and he goes, "No one listens to you when you say that, right?" I have the same reaction. No one gets how bad it is. I totally get it, and I promise I won't make you sick. When I tell you how relieved I was to hear that, and how much better I feel now knowing that my doctor actually understands and cares, finding the right doctor really does make all the difference, and today's sponsor ZocDoc makes it easy for everyone to do just that. ZocDoc is a free website that lets you search and compare high-quality in-network doctors across all 50 states and quickly book appointments right there within the site. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200 plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can search by specialty or symptom to find the perfect doctor for your needs. Want to see your doctor in person? Great. Prefer a video visit? You can do that too. With ZocDoc, you can even get a sense of your doctor before booking your appointment by viewing the thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. And when you're ready, you can see their real-time availability and click to book instantly. There's no hold times, no calling, just a few clicks and you're booked. Best of all is that appointments happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours and sometimes even on the same day. So stop putting your health on the back burner and head over to ZocDoc.com/accordingtonicole to find and book a top-rated doctor today. For the last number of years, we've seen the cost of everything soar, and we've been fed a plethora of excuses as to why it's happening. COVID caused supply chain shortages, Trump's tariffs increased the cost of importing goods from around the world, wars and interest rates and scarcity, oh my. And all of that is true, but only to a point, because COVID came and went, interest rates dropped and then spiked and then have since come back down. Trump always chickens out and backs down on his tariff threats, but despite all of this, the price of everything has only continued to climb. And so have corporate profits, though I'm sure that's just a coincidence, right? During the pandemic, we saw the price of cars skyrocket like never before. We were told that worker illness and government restrictions caused lower outputs along the entire supply chain, and that specifically there was a semiconductor shortage that delayed the manufacturing of an essential chip. Naturally, lower supplies led to longer wait times and higher prices for new cars, and with those longer wait times for new cars came a surge in demand for used cars, which also caused their prices to skyrocket. And I mean, that sounds like a pretty logical explanation, even to a layperson like me. Except that we're now in 2026, 4 full years post-pandy, presumably back to full production capacity long ago, and yet prices haven't dropped one bit. This past summer, my now 13-year-old RAV4 finally had its first ever issue crop up. The AC condenser died. I was told that it would be between $2,000 and $3,000 for the parts and labor to replace it, and even though my car drives just fine, I couldn't help but wonder if it was even worth putting possibly $3,000 into a 13-year-old car that has 200,000 kilometers on it. I mean, after all, I only paid like $17K for it when I first bought it in 2017, and it had 1/4 of the mileage it does now. So maybe I would just be better off selling it and getting something a little newer. Except that, according to AutoTrader, my car is still somehow worth nearly $15,000 today, despite being 9 years older and having 150,000 kilometers more on it than when I got it. And to get anything even a few years newer, I need to spend like $30,000. How is that possible? Well, a brand new RAV4, which used to cost around $30,000, now costs more than $40,000. And so a beater, which should only be worth $5,000 to $7,000, is somehow still worth $15,000. And the idea of saving 50% off the MSRP by buying a 5-year-old car is just no longer a thing at all. COVID taught car manufacturers that scarcity leads to higher margins. By 2023, the semiconductor supply had normalized and logistic bottlenecks had eased, but prices never came down. And not only did they not come down, but they actually increased even further, and the supply of cars remained scarce. Currently, there's a 6 to 12 month wait for most new cars. And small economy models that used to cost $15,000 to $20,000 have mostly disappeared because their affordable price came with thin margins for manufacturers. So instead, companies have shifted their strategy to selling fewer cars at a higher price point by making them larger and bloating them full of premium trims and infotainment centers and all these gimmicky gadgets that most people don't really need. But this allows them to charge more for them, and the low supply means that they're not obligated to negotiate much, if at all. So with that, a base model Toyota Corolla or Honda Civic, the two cars that have long been considered the token budget vehicles for people who value affordability and reliability over bells and whistles, now each start at around $30,000. And best of all, because most people don't have $30,000 to drop all at once on a car, they can force more customers into financing their vehicles, and that's where the real money is. So that entire tangent is to say that no, car prices are not up because of some complex logistical issue. Not at this point. They're up because manufacturers wanted to charge more. So they did. Needless to say, I'm just gonna get my AC fixed. Similarly, we were told that grocery prices had to rise to accommodate for pandemic-related disruptions, fertilizer shortages, rising fuel costs, and climate issues leading to lower crop yields. All fair enough, but that still doesn't explain why prices haven't come back down as those situations have improved or even resolved. Nor does it explain why grocery chains across both the US and Canada have been reporting record high profits year after year during their earnings calls. On a completely unrelated note, in 2023, Canada's largest grocery chain pleaded guilty to 4 counts of criminal price fixing, were fined $50 million, and lost the associated $500 million class action civil suit after 14 years of colluding with bread manufacturers to illegally price gouge customers. It's almost like companies just sit around waiting for some sort of emergency to surface, be it a pandemic, a war, a natural disaster, whatever really, so that they can use it as an excuse to justify raising prices. And then once the dust settles and they look around and realize that no one stopped them, they say, you know what? Let's just keep it here. And then they rinse and repeat that process as often as possible. And that's why calling this inflation is disingenuous at best and deliberately deceptive at worst. In theory, inflation is supposed to be temporary. Supply chains recover, shocks fade, markets stabilize, prices are supposed to level out or even fall at some point. But that assumes a competitive market where companies are forced to fight for your business, and that's no longer our reality. So if you want to know the true reason why everything has become so expensive, you don't need a degree in economics or political science to understand, which is a good thing because I don't have either. I have 2 words for you: corporate greed, or as finance bros call it, profit maximization in a low competition environment. Corporate greed is why your subscriptions increase by a few bucks every year, despite the service getting worse. What are you gonna do? Not listen to music? Not watch TV? Not use the software that you need for your business? Corporate greed is why shrinkflation is rampant, and you're paying more for smaller quantities of food and toiletries and cosmetics and everything else. For years, I've been buying these plain black ankle socks from Hanes or Fruit of the Loom, and there used to be 10 pairs in a pack, and then there were 8, and now there's 6, but the price hasn't changed. Corporate greed is why Subway's infamous $5 footlong sandwich now costs $10 to $15. Has the cost of operation and ingredients increased? Undoubtedly. But has it increased 200 to 300%? No. But once again, their earnings calls show an increase in profits for the last 4 years straight, and if like me, you're thinking, wait, people still eat at Subway? The answer is yeah, I guess so. Ew. At the end of the day, corporate greed, and particularly the absurd expectation of infinite year-over-year growth within the confines of a finite world, will always be the main driver of price gouging, no matter how hard the powers that be try to masquerade it as normal, healthy inflation. The more that companies enshittify themselves, the more that conglomerates continue to buy up their competitors, and the more that our government officials continue to lick the corporate lobbyists' boots and refuse to enforce anti-monopoly laws, the more we are going to be extorted. It was actually this exact realization that first led me to minimalism like 10 years ago. Do I like the feeling of open, airy space and no clutter in my home? Yes. Do I have a preference for white walls and gray everything else? Apparently so, but that's besides the point. Minimalism is first and foremost about intentional living, and my intention is to minimize how often and how badly I'm being screwed over and ripped off by billionaires. Minimalism as an aesthetic may have died out in the last few years, but intentionality as a lifestyle never should. The more that we mindlessly consume, the more companies know that they can overcharge us for everything without consequence. And when it gets to the point that we truly cannot afford to buy their stuff, They just come up with more inventive ways to get us all into debt, like buy now, pay later, or payday advance apps, or $0 down financing, or whatever else. The only thing that will ever get this to stop is for us to stop buying crap, to stop giving these bastards our hard-earned money. Sink the demand, and the prices will have to adjust. It's kind of weird to me that more recently there's been this trend of underconsumption core content picking up steam on social media, but what most people are calling underconsumption is really just normal living. It's what life looked like 20 years ago, before everything just became about showing off to strangers on the internet, and it wasn't noteworthy. Things like using up your soap and makeup products before buying more, freezing and preserving leftover food to avoid waste, wearing your clothes until they actually wear out, using your phone and driving your car until it dies, fixing things instead of just throwing them away and buying new all the time. Buy what you need, of course, but don't be wasteful. Don't show corporations that you're happy to kiss the ring and fork over your hard-earned money for every and anything that they have to offer, even if you can't afford it. Make them work for it, because you sure do. Capitalism's worst nightmare is someone who's completely at peace and content in their life. Someone who wants nothing more than they already have, and I think that that is such a better goal to work towards than collecting frickin' Yeti bottles or whatever. That has to be some sort of condition, right? If you like this video, like the video, subscribe for more. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Most specifically, I'm really interested in knowing if there's a product or a service or something that you used to buy that you've stopped buying because you just can't justify the price anymore, that it's just gotten too expensive and it's not worth it. So let me know down below. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.